All right, good morning, everyone. We are live. Hopefully, Restream doesn't kick us off this morning like yesterday. So, yesterday, sorry for all the technical difficulties, but we had to pivot and just stream on Zoom. But I got Hunter, Harrison, Trade Better, and Ariel this morning. So, good morning, everyone.
Morning. Good
Morning.
morning.
Yeah, so I think this is a perfect topic for the kind of market we're in right now. And maybe Hunter can kind of cover what we're going to talk about today. This is kind of his idea. But so, Hunter, why don't you start, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So appreciate everybody tuning in today. I'm very passionate about creative finance transactions in real estate. To give a little background on myself, I'm in the Greenville, South Carolina market as an agent, also invest here locally. I do own some properties out of state. Most of those have been creative transactions. So I'm super excited to talk through with Ariel. Ariel, I don't know you yet, but I'm super excited to learn more about you and your background and just get connected. And Harrison, I know you and I have talked a little bit on school community, so great to obviously connect here live. So, Ariel, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about your background and how you found real estate and creative real estate.
Sure. My name is Ariel, based out in Tampa, Florida, originally from New Jersey. Started investing about 5 years ago, mostly in house hacks that converted to long-term rentals and some short-term as well. A little bit sporadic where I have some properties across the US, also waiting for one to be done internationally. And I also have a software called Coffee Closers that I'm CTO of. So I help investors find cash flowing deals.
That's great. So, when did you get your start in real estate?
In 2019, yeah, first
Okay.
property.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. Right. Sort of before the craziness.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you've got to experience that. Well, tell me a little bit more about coffee closers. I know Mark's talked a decent bit about that, but I'm excited to learn more about what you have.
Sure. So taking just a little bit of a step back. So 2019, looking to get into real estate, and I worked as a data scientist. So just think of lots and lots of spreadsheets and trying to make predictive analytics based off of that. So when I was trying to analyze my own deals in my small towns of New Jersey, I was like, wait, why is it so hard for me to get rent, expenses, and just find properties easily that I could just shoot off to my agent and then go look at? It was like this whole conundrum of, pulling data and then hard to find the properties that I actually wanted to invest in. So from there, built small tools throughout the years of helping people, in these micro steps of their real estate journey, which is what I posted in my tech and real estate channel. And then ultimately, the same feedback kept coming back. I just want one tool that does everything, Ariel. Like, I don't want to use Zapier and stitch together all these things. Can you help me just quickly find the best deals for my strategy? So that's exactly what Coffee Closers does. And we've opened up a creative finance aspect where we find the best deals for seller finance and subject to.
Cool question. Thanks,
That's
Hyder, for
great.
stopping by. He says CTO, is that Chief Technical Officer?
Yes, Chief Technology Officer. So wearing different hats, not just data science, even as simple as head of tech for content as well. So a lot of different areas.
I did want to touch on coffee closers for, in the beginning. So like you said, you started I know you updated it or there's new features coming out. So like creative finance, seller finance, was that always part of the vision or is it something you implemented because how kind of the market is transitioning or moving? So how did that come into play?
Yeah, it was somewhat of a vision in that we wanted to be all encompassing to be able to find deals based on your different types of strategies. But what really pushed us forward was the market conditions. So what we saw for markets, say like Boise, Idaho, literally everything on market, nothing cash flows, right? So someone would think like, do I have to go out of state? Is investing even for me? Do I have to put more cash down? Because mostly of these high interest rates as well as low supply of inventory making high prices. And that's when we did an analysis to see if we open it up to creative finance, how many more deals could we actually unlock? And it was actually about 10 to 15 times the amount per market. And so that's why we decided to go kind of all in on maybe pushing our development forward sooner than what we initially anticipated.
Cool. So if anyone wants to check it out, I put the link to Coffee Closers in the chat. So go check it out. Ariel's YouTube channel is also there. Hunter's X profile, Trade Better. So Go subscribe, go follow everyone. But Hunter, yeah, like you said, you are very big. I haven't done anything in the creative finance space. I always think it's maybe a little bit too much work. I mean, I'm kind of on the lazy side. I don't want to dabble in that. So why don't you sell me on, creative finance or seller finance and why you're so big on it?
Well, I feel like Ariel should probably be the one doing this, but I'm happy to take a stab at it. So for me, really, I like creative finance for a couple of reasons. Biggest reason is that you can take a property that is not a deal and turn it into a deal, and that's really, the gist of real estate investing. I think for the last, 4 going on 5 years, it's been a great market to certain degrees, certain aspects. Last 18 months, maybe not so much, but we've sort of ridden this wave of appreciation where if you bought a property, maybe you didn't even buy it right. Maybe you just got lucky. And I think there's a lot of operators and real estate investors, property owners who would fall into that category. I mean, quite frankly, that's part of my story. I got lucky a little bit on the upswing, but that's not everybody's story. And so I'm a big believer that deals are created and not found. So with that said, Ariel, I'm sort of interested to learn more, and I'll sort of jump back here in a second, but how do you all identify a good market that is going to be, loaded with creative finance type transactions?
Sure. So, I mean, I could also give a quick demo if that helps, just to visually
Yeah.
explain as I'm going through
Yeah.
it. But I don't want to,
Absolutely.
No,
obviously eat
yeah,
up
I
too
think
much
that's what
time.
everyone's tuning in for.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So let me see. I have always 101 different browser tabs open. So this is the right
Hey,
one.
I thought you're supposed to have just one.
I know, right? Keep it simple. What was actually pretty interesting, Hunter, is that when we did this whole experiment with creative finance and trying to see if we could build something in a really short span of time, we used Greenville, South Carolina as our main example.
Yeah, that's great.
One reason Greenville County and the city are the same name, so it was like kind of easier for people to interpret. And then second, we just saw a lot of opportunity here, so perfect. The way this
No, I
works,
love it. That's great.
thanks. Yeah, the way this works is very simple to what you're used to seeing, which is properties on one side and then a map on the other. However, unlike say a Zillow, which is really meant for those who are say newlyweds buying their first home or someone who just retired looking to move towards the south, this is really meant for investors and to help you just quickly sift through what's available and get down to making offers. So here on the left-hand side, we see a neighborhood grade heat map. Without getting too much into the weeds, basically what we do here is we look at macroeconomic stats as well as market stats to paint a picture of like how a market is moving over time, which could help you based on your strategy if you're targeting certain areas or targeting certain types of tenants. So from how we actually aggregate which are best for seller finance or sub two, which was your main question, how we do it right now is we look at everything on market and we look at the property owner's background, right? So do they currently have a loan against the property? If they do, what's their mortgage? What's their interest rate? And how much do they owe in the property? Are there any distress factors? So if I actually dive into, say, one of these properties, so when we look at all these things, we're also looking at, well, afterwards, how much will your return on investment be? So based on return on investment, seller motivation, and ultimately the growth of the area is how we sort which properties are the best. And in this case, this property looks like it's pretty good shape, doesn't need too much work. The seller fully owns their property here. They're an individual and they are owner occupying the property. So if you were to get into a conversation with the seller, which we have an automatic button to generate an offer, but they come back, and Hunter, you probably had these scenarios where they're like, I want to get my certain price. I don't care if the interest rate is a little bit less or whatever. How do we get to that goal? So say if they want to have a little bit more earnings, you want your cash flow to be a little bit higher, you can use this feature to optimize the deal, which is using your AI algorithm to look at different combinations and then ultimately tell you what possibly the best inputs could be to help make the right terms for this deal. So ultimately, like, it is a person game where you do need to talk to the seller and make that relationship happen so that you can come to this decision. What we're looking to do is just take that 85% of the beginning and just streamlining it so that you can get to what actually matters, which is those conversations.
This is really fantastic. I mean, it takes part of the guessing game out of it, which, is one of the more difficult things that I find when I'm either talking with sellers or talking with, other investors who are looking in this market, because they don't know how to necessarily run a basic financial calculator. On my iPhone, I have, a financial calculator app. And so I've gone through enough training on that I feel like I'm pretty proficient, but the average person might not know how to run the numbers and figure out an interest rate. And, if a seller wants a purchase price and $800 a month, how do you back into that? And I love that about this tool. It really takes, the guessing game out of it for a lot of buyers.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the end person in mind that we have, or our current users as well, are folks who work full time. They're not looking to, have 20 different spreadsheets open and all these different combinations. They need to just kind of fast track their ability to get to what matters. And that's our goal for this product.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's say, Ariel, I'm looking at this property. I want to buy it as a long-term rental. And because it's owned free and clear, I have a good chance for the seller to finance it. How does that offer work?
Sure. So I'm going to download this offer now. And apologies for being cheap and not having a Word doc. So I'm going to open it up here in Google Doc. So this should adjust. Okay, great. Upload.
So Hunter, would this made it a lot easier when you got your creative finance deals out of state, you think?
It definitely would have. Obviously, this this sample property and this demo is in my backyard. So I own properties here. I'm an agent here, so I know it pretty well. But I also do buy on the numbers. I'm not necessarily dependent upon a market. And if I go into a new market, like some of my properties are up in Ohio, how do I verify that certain neighborhoods or zip codes are good? I'd have to talk to a lot of agents, talk to a lot of lenders, people in the area. But I really love the features of this. It's going to take a lot of that guessing work out, and I can hone down on certain zip codes, certain neighborhoods that I say, hey, I want to be investing in this area.
Exactly. Be able to go into a new market, feel confident in your decision making. So for your question and like, what do you do next? You like the deal, you want to send terms over. So in this case, the property was listed at 225. Maybe I would say that the seller probably isn't like overly motivated because they haven't made a price drop yet and there's no distress factors. But what would catch their eye is, instead of offering less, offering more, right? Almost 260,000, which is a little over 33,000 that they had originally asked. So how can you actually be offering them more? Well, the idea of this offer letter is, the way we structure it, is that they actually see post interest, if they were to become the bank in the seller finance transaction, how much more money they would actually make and why it would benefit them. So we also have some information on how it would benefit them that they can look into, and then ultimately the ability to send this offer either as SMS or email. So because these are on market, it would go to the agent, and the agent would get a little bit of a fee, right? And you might think like, but why isn't this all off market? Well, from what we've seen, PropStream already does a great job of doing off market stuff, but most of the people who succeed in off market, they're spending about $3,000 at least on marketing a month. It's really a numbers game. It's a follow-up game, especially if you're doing it at scale. So even though there's still an agent in this scenario, they are obligated to actually give the offer. So there's no guessing game of like, will it make it in their inbox? Do I have to keep sending mailers for like the next 30 days? This is getting to the seller. So we provide that information for the offer, and then ultimately the ability of who and how you would send it out.
That's amazing.
Another thing as well to think about is that, I'm an agent, so if somebody's going to submit an offer to me on seller financing, the first thing that most agents think of is, oh, how do I get paid out of this transaction? And so if you can also overcome that objection while you're looking at these on-market deals, you say, hey, don't worry, we have a couple options. I can either, pay it out of the down payment to the seller, or I can pay it on top, depending upon how we, work out this deal with the seller. So you have a lot of different options there when you're dealing with those agents. And Ariel, to your point, they're required to send that along. So,
Yeah,
without doing something unethical, that offer is going to make it into the seller's hands, and then they have a real conversation they can have. Am I motivated enough to sell, this way? And you can also really overcome some of the hurdles at that point, some of the objections. They might think, okay, well, who gets the deed? What happens if they stop paying? All of these very basic objections for seller financing. And so now you have the opportunity to have those conversations with them, and you can do it at scale with this software. You can be submitting multiple offers per day.
exactly. Now you have the wheels turning in my head of how we can build in the agent objection within the platform. Because we do,
There you go.
yeah, we offer advice after, but yeah, thank you, Hunter. Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been listening to a couple of videos from Pace Morby. I've been following him over the years, never actually been a part of his mentorship or courses, but he did one of the podcasts with Zuber, and then a couple of other podcasts I've listened to. And it's kind of interesting. He said in his offer, he has like a little FAQ page and then a link back to his YouTube channel where he essentially filmed sellers answering other sellers' objections. Sort of as like a video testimonial, but if you got really good at this, you could do something very similar. And at that point, why wouldn't the seller say yes?
Exactly. Yeah, he has some excellent content. Also has, for those who are interested, Pace has a series with Jerry Norton. It's about like 20 episodes or so, but all about creative finance, how to get into the space, and really easy to follow examples too.
So what about you, Harrison? Are you looking at any creative finance, seller finance type things in your market right now?
That's the big thing right now, is that because it's a strictly cash flow market and the market is kind of not quite there. So I was looking at this where, especially for the small multis that I really look for investing, and I mean, even talking to my real estate agent, who is very experienced, but very afraid of any sort of seller financing. This would make it really easy right here. I guess, yeah, Ariel, the other question I had regarding with that, do you scrape the description as well? Have you ever seen any benefits of looking at, seller financing friendly, or is that not really there?
Yeah, we actually have a flag for that. I would say for each market, maybe it's like less than 1%, but sometimes
Yeah.
you will see it and it'll say like open to seller financing.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, I know it's like Hunter, I'm in Ohio. I'm on the northeast side, so it's just the best way to find as many, I don't know, the best win-win. So I really like this feature. That's really cool.
Well, I think for creative finance transactions, it's very much a numbers game. So similar to people finding off-market deals, like I have a virtual assistant who's making calls every week for me. He's calling up in Ohio, calling down here in South Carolina. And we do come across deals, but the seller isn't motivated. They want cash. They want retail, above retail. But this way, you have the ability to go out to all the different properties that have sat on the market. And that's really part of my strategy for Ohio. Particularly, I'm investing in Dayton and suburbs, small towns around Dayton. So I can go in there and I can see, hey, this 3-unit at 123 Main Street been on the market 80 days, no offers, seemingly no price drops. So let's reach out and have a conversation. And with coffee closers, it's now, hey, I can craft my offer, I can send it to the agent, maybe even build in some objections, and then I can do that at scale. So I can do that on 10, 20, 30. And then at that point, you've made so many offers, it's just a matter of time before they start coming back around, because the seller might not be motivated now, but if you follow up in 2 weeks or a month and say, hey, property still on the market? What's going on? Any other activity? And you might just find a creative finance transaction that you can create out of thin air.
Yeah. And with the hard numbers, just saying, I mean, hey, I like more money. It's just saying I have to wait a little bit longer, pay a little less taxes up front. Okay, sure. Yeah, I like that big green right there. So that's nice.
Yeah, especially since the market is a little bit slower right now. And like you were saying, Hunter, it's a matter of how you can make this into a deal, maybe, right? I think that's what Coffee Closers is really helpful with, is that you can play with the numbers and see maybe what strategy might work best for this property, or how can you make it work. And like you're saying, a lot of times you might get a no from the seller, but it's allowing you to be creative and let you get your mind working and see what other ways you can make this deal work. So yeah, I really like it. But what I really liked was just like you're saying, Ariel, is just you don't have all these tabs open. You don't have to be jumping from one product to the next. It's pretty much kind of an all-in-one place. But I did notice too. Also, Ariel, I mean, we can stay on creative finance, but I'm also want to touch on you have a book coming out. I saw that on your LinkedIn and your Facebook, and you didn't pick the color that I picked in the vote, but you have a book coming out. I saw the Amazon link, so go check that out. I put that in the chat. But talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, thanks. It's called The Data-Driven Investor's Guide for Real Estate Investing. And that's, pretty much what it is. It's a no fluff, action-driven book, less than 100 pages to get you from choosing your investment strategy, choosing your market, your neighborhood, how to actually analyze properties based off of your buy box, and ultimately create the offer. So I see a lot of people get stuck in the early phases, which is, what market should I choose? How do I know where in that market is like the hidden gems and the gold mines? Well, a lot of that actually is just a blueprint, just a series of steps that you have to follow. And that's what I'm going through in the book. And also, for those that do pre-order the book, we'll have a free course that goes along with it as well, because I know some of you are visual too. So I want to make sure I'm able to appease both the readers and those who visually learn as well.
I love that. And I think we're kind of just touching the surface. And I believe tomorrow, or you have a creative finance webinar also coming up, right? Or something else.
Yeah, I have a live tomorrow. We'll have Rex Shippey, who he's also investing in creative finance space. And for my lives, we're going directly like into deals. So if you are at the stage where you really want to understand like behind the numbers, behind a neighborhood, like it's probably a great stage for you to start learning.
Yeah, so go check it out. I'll get the link and put it in the chat or put it on my page, and I'll probably be there and mess around and try not to make too much trouble while I'm there.
I did have a quick question for Hunter on the creative space. So
Absolutely.
Hunter, I've heard of some folks who are gaining their own deals off market, instead of going traditionally, sometimes using like software like PropStream, of using social media. So maybe using like Facebook and posting like, hey, I buy homes, anyone like looking to sell. Have you tried using social media at all? Or if not, like, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think social media does work well for people who build a brand. Um, for me, I decided not to go that route. I'm not super big on social media. All I have is Facebook, which mostly for marketplace, and then I have my X or Twitter. Um, and really, I think X or Twitter is where I see a lot of value. I follow a lot of people who do super creative stuff. I did maybe want to touch on that a little bit today, but it's sort of the idea of exchanging, how you have a property that has certain benefits and you can exchange or trade your property into other stuff or use it as a down payment, very sort of, next level beyond seller finance and sub two deals. But for me, I'm buying for cash flow. Um, I like the seller and subject to deals because I can find that cash flow. I can create it. If I know that the property rents for 1,300 and they're willing to finance it for 1,100, it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm about breaking even, or maybe there's some cash flow. But over time, as rents typically go up, not always. You got to buy in the right area, right markets. But generally you're going to find those deals. And so for me, I've just come to find that I can get those through relationships and typically cold call. So that's really my primary ways of going out and getting deals. I think social media works great. I know a couple of people who do a really good job on that. They buy a lot of sub-2 deals themselves up in Pennsylvania, and they also wholesale stuff. I bought a wholesale deal from them that was a sub-2 deal, so that one's worked out pretty good. So for me, it's really relationships, and trying to find some of those that are just direct to seller, off market through cold call.
The deal hunter. That should be your social media presence.
The deal.
The deal hunter. Yep.
I like it.
Well,
that.
there's really a lot of ways to create deals, and this goes back to a subject to deal that I did, and I put together a case study. If I find it on my computer, I can send it to Mark, and Mark, you can send that out to everybody else. But we ended up buying a house subject to. They owed $57,000 on the first mortgage. We bought it for $77,000. Put $7,000 down, so we owed, what is that, $13,000, and the seller essentially financed their equity, $13,000, over a period of, I think it was 3 years. That sounds about right. 0% interest. The underlying first mortgage, I think, was at 4.25. So pretty good deal there. So again, easy numbers. We're in for $77,000. We turn around and we sell the deal on a contract for deed to an end buyer for $130. Collected $15,000 down, so we made about $7,000 on the down payment. They bought the house from us the same day we closed on it. So sort of a simultaneous transaction, no money out of our pocket. And then we actually cash flowed because we created a wraparound mortgage on the contract for deed. So we ended up making about $460 in cash flow, and then just recently sold that note to a bank. So that's some super next level stuff, right beyond seller financing, or even paired up with it. Because if you're looking at a deal on coffee closers, the numbers sort of work. You can use some of these Pace Morby-esque, creative finance strategies to say, hey, let me sell it to an end buyer. I'm going to, charge them, maybe a little bit of a higher rate. And I'm going to make a spread, let's call it an 8% interest rate on 130 or 115, instead of paying basically, I think it was a blended rate of like 2% on 77. So you can sort of make the spread there. And again, put the deal together.
That is excellent. Love to hear the high, cash flow, how creative you got as well. You said no money or low money down?
No money out of pocket. We actually got $7,000 when we closed. So we technically made money when we bought it every month, and then when we sold it. So that's, I don't want to say that's more of a unicorn transaction, but unfortunately, those are not like my everyday transactions. That was more of a home run. We got lucky on that one.
Great one.
Yeah, but all you need is a few of those, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you just get a few of those, and yeah.
Yeah, and what I would want to encourage people who maybe have not done a creative finance deal is to just try to do one. If you do one, that's going to help you learn the building blocks, the foundation of how to do a deal. You'll work with title, or escrow, or an attorney, depending upon your state. You can work with Ariel, work with coffee closers, find the deal, and then you'll know how to do one. And then once you've done that first one, you can say, okay, well, I now have the confidence to go buy a second one. Or maybe my first one was seller financing. My second one can be a subject to deal. And you can just build from there. And, like Zuber always says, get to 4 rentals, slowly build past that. And so that's been a mantra for me. It's like, if I can do 1 or 2 solid creative finance deals a year, maybe I sell one, maybe I don't. And you just build that cash flow every single year. You don't have to be doing this forever. So, Ariel, yeah, exactly. Hey, Ariel, I want to go back and talk a little bit more about your journey. What are you doing right now to find your deals? Obviously outside of utilizing your own platform, but how are you building your portfolio? What are you seeing as some opportunities in the creative finance world?
Sure. So actively, my portfolio is on pause while I wait for my development out in Mexico. Just simply time-based with still being developer. one of the developers behind Coffee Closers. But in terms of what I'm seeing in the data is there's a lot more properties that are actually staying on market than previously. Like there's like a handful that, they're off the market within 30 days, but then there's some that are like 90 days plus, and the seller fully owns their property. So seller financing is an option, or they have, a good amount of equity in their property that sub 2 makes sense. So I think targeting some of these sellers that are like at that cusp of like, they did a price cut, people still, aren't putting offers that they deem to be good on their part. Those could be a good like avenue to start, and then start reaching out to those sellers, sending them offers and seeing if you can try to, get that deal, since they may be a little bit more motivated of it being on market longer.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And through your software, you can look at properties all over the country, correct? Multiple markets, multiple states.
Yes. So all over the country, we have for sale by owner as well throughout the whole country,
Oh,
which I actually
that's great.
expect to see rise. Yeah. After F.I.R.E settlement, I think people have just kind of realized, like, of course, an agent is needed in a lot of circumstances, right? But if you do have the time, the technical know-how, and maybe you live in a development where like all 30 of the houses are exactly the same, you may be able to just comp it on your own and just do for sale by owner. So we start to see an uptick as well in these types of properties. And that can help with negotiation just directly with that individual as well. Again, Hunter, not to try to cut out the agent here.
It's
but
okay. I get it.
there is a benefit to seeing, these leads also increase in numbers.
Absolutely. What are you seeing as far as properties that might be considered new construction or recently built, like 1 to 3 years old? Across markets, how are you seeing those properties fare? As far as days on market, are they staying longer? What are those typically looking like?
I haven't really seen as much in terms of like the newer development. Just haven't really focused on that type of research. But in terms of properties that are over FHA limits, those I've seen like stay on market also longer. So because houses are just more expensive right now, you have these people who maybe they're looking for their first home ever, and they can't afford that $800,000 home. It's, even if they went for an FHA loan, it's too high. It doesn't meet that requirement. So if you were to break it out, which I think Zuber has talked about in the past in some of his videos, that like those luxury or higher price properties are staying on market longer than those lower price properties. So that's something to also note. Like if you could do a really good sub 2 deal for someone who has an interest rate at 2.5%, it's a large home. It's kind of expensive, but maybe you could rent it by the bedroom. So doing like medium term rental or pad split, like that could still be a really great deal, maybe not too much out of pocket.
I also put
that's
Ariel's
great.
YouTube, her Bigger Pockets episode link in
Oh,
the
perfect.
chat. So go check it out, everyone. I know we're talking about creative finance and, like it's sub 2, a lot of that, people are looking for low interest rates or taking over someone's payment. But what do you guys think is going to come down? Is the Fed going to cut rates today? We'll just maybe talk about that real quick before they ask you now. What is you guys' thoughts on that? Rate cuts or no? 25?
Harrison, what do you think? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
So I'm going to say 25. It's one of those where they don't want the market to freak out. I mean, it's already being priced in seeing how stocks have been going the last week. It's like, okay, people are kind of pricing in, saying not too high. I'm not seeing record growth right now within my investments. But if they do 50, I think it would actually tank everything because people would be like, oh, it's that classic, what is it? The Big Short, Steve Carell saying, it's a bubble, this kind of thing. So I think they're trying every way to stop that right now. That's where I'm moving in. Maybe another 25 in December. That's where I'm looking.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely a cut, probably more so leaning towards 25. And in terms of like what that means for investors, like you could possibly see more cash flowing deals because your mortgage will be less on that property. But there's also, we have like a huge backlog of folks who are trying to get their first properties too. So do we have enough inventory for it to really like matter and for us investors to see? Like that's still kind of up in the air.
Yeah, really, really well put. I think I'm probably leaning toward, them doing a 25%. I think that's logical. I think that's the next right step. However, they've, tended to make some not so great decisions, in my opinion. So we might, see 50 out the gate.
All
Who knows?
right, someone taking a chance out there.
I need to find Zuber's Swing and a Miss T-shirt when they come out with 25. But
You never know, man. They might
Go for
surprise
it.
us. Yeah, I don't
well,
know.
I think regardless of what they do, 25 or 50, I think it's going to communicate to a lot of what I'm going to call small investors. Those are people 40 and younger who don't have a super high net worth. Maybe they're looking at, buying their first home. Maybe they're already in their first home, but they're just trying to figure out, what is the market doing? And I think it's going to increase panic, doubt, fear into the market. Again, regardless if it's 25 or 50 or even higher, over the next 2-3 months. But I think because of that, it's going to create more opportunities in real estate, particularly for those people who have some debt on their property. I asked you, Ariel, about the new construction communities. I think that is a super fantastic place to be looking. If you're getting your first sub 2 deal or you're looking to grow a portfolio, what most builders do, is that they'll start the community out. Let's say it's a 3-2 1,800 square foot house. They start it at 300,000. As they sell through the neighborhood, they might increase it, which we've typically seen years past. But they can also turn around and decrease prices. They can slash the rates. Like one of our builders here in Greenville, they're offering a 5.9% interest rate. I think it's 10 or 15,000 in closing cost, and the homes are selling for 10 to 15,000 less than what they were about 6 months ago. The builder's got to sell. They already have their profit margin built in, but what it does is it hurts every homeowner who bought in that community or similar new construction communities around in the last 2 years. So if you go find some listings, that are 1 to 3 years old, maybe even 1 to 5, depending upon the neighborhood, you could find some real pain. And it might not show on the listing. It might look like, hey, pretty much a new construction house priced what seems to be appropriate, but they, for whatever reason, aren't moving. And so those are some real opportunities to go in there and have the seller financing subject to conversations.
Yeah, that actually brings up a really good point, Hunter. Where I used to live in Oregon, Lennar, they made half the neighborhood and they just recently abandoned the rest of it. I mean, it was just one of those where they weren't selling enough properties. And I mean, the town I lived in was just an hour outside of Portland. So it was just far enough where people didn't want to make the commute. And so they were able to cut their losses. And I've been seeing that. And then also the houses in that neighborhood are selling for less than what they were originally purchased for. So it's just been a rough one.
It is the double-edged sword. If you bought at the beginning of the first phase in a development, you a lot of times can get a good price. But depending upon how the market goes 6, 12, 18, 24 months after, you might be in a hole or potentially even upside down. And so there's not a whole lot of people who would raise their hand and say, hey, I will go buy your house. That's a $2,000 a month mortgage payment. It rents for $1,800. But I'm probably one of the few people that would legitimately take a look at that. If it's a no cash out of pocket to me, I might lose money for the first 2 years. But if I know, hey, this is a solid area, the values are going to come back, rents are going to come back. It's just, it's just the ebb and flow of the market. You can sort of position yourself, to be able to ride that wave up in the next term. So, just some different things to think about as you're out there looking at properties, on coffee closers, looking for some more deals.
Yes, I want to welcome Chester, Wealth Building Journey, stopping by. He just closed on his first turnkey property, and oh shit, is he here? Let's see, is the big fella here? Hold on, I'm gonna let this guy in. He's not wearing a Bears jersey though, so I can't let him in. Hold on, I'm letting Curtis
World's-
PE turned RE joining us because Harrison might have to jump off soon.
Mhm.
So they're
Yep.
tagging in. But Curtis, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And so this is kind of weird to always hop in and try to figure out where you guys are at, but someone's going to teach these kids. So
Well, you can teach them creative finance. So that's what we're talking about today. Ariel's going over coffee closers and how it can help with finding deals, creative finance, seller finance. Hunter's talking about some deals that he's gone through. We're just talking too about interest rates, what we think interest rates might happen if they're going to cut rates. But yeah, have you done any creative finance, seller finance things yet?
I have not, but that's where I've been educating myself of late. I've actually used like the trial version of coffee closers. I've also played around with ChatGPT a little bit. If you use the AI, that's like the free ChatGPT stuff, you kind of have to enter all the information in yourself, and then it kind of like lays it out. I'm actually going to a meetup tonight in Tacoma with Cody Davis from Multifamily Strategy, and he's going to be there talking about how to talk to like an owners. So I'm really excited to kind of put all the pieces together and start making some calls.
I like that.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
When
did you
making those,
you got to go, Harrison? Okay, cool.
Harrison dropped off. Cool. When you're having those conversations with those sellers, one thing to remember, and this is something that it took me a long time to learn as I got into the investment side, you don't have to have the money, the inventory, the ability, or the know-how. If you find somebody who has motivation, let's say it's a $400,000 duplex, and they're willing to finance, 25%. Okay, great. Well, we can bring in a private lender. We can swap, equity. Maybe they really don't want their property because it's a headache from a maintenance and a property management standpoint. But if you can trade them into a note, maybe it's secured by the same property, maybe it's secured by a different property that gives them the benefits that they want. That's really what you got to find is, what benefits do they have? What benefits do they want? And I'm actually going to share my screen real quick because I think this is going to be valuable. If I can figure out how to do it here. So I'm a part of a group in Greenville called GEMS. Stands for Greenville Equity Marketing. Let me know if you guys can see this okay. I'm trying to flip between two screens. Okay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So basically, what I really wanted to show you guys is the pyramid of value. And I'm sorry if it's small. I'm trying to bounce back and forth between different screens. At the top of the pyramid is cash. That is, the highest value, quote unquote, of, anything in real estate. The cash can help you buy deals. It can help you sell deals. It can help you do a lot of things, help you solve a lot of problems. But all these different things underneath the cash and this pyramid of value can help you put deals together, create deals from scratch. It can help you, solve problems for a seller, because really that's all we want to be doing is solving problems on the sub two side, seller finance, creative transactions. We want to solve the problems, and most importantly, we want to increase the benefits of the seller. Maybe the seller's older. I typically deal with a lot of older landlords, guys primarily, which is kind of interesting. And there's 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's sort of my demographic of seller in Dayton, Ohio. Don't ask me why. So when I'm talking with them, I'm figuring out, how long have they owned it? What is their basis into the property? That's going to help me figure out what their taxes that they owe. And I can figure out, okay, do they really want the property? Do they want cash? Do they really want something that's going to be less headache? So right underneath cash is a triple net lease. So I actually had this scenario happen where I was talking with a seller, and he owned a 4-unit. And he liked the 4-unit. He would sell it, but he wanted to essentially go up in value. He wanted to get something that cash flowed a little bit more, and he wanted something that was safer than multifamily. So we're looking at getting him into a small commercial property that's a triple net lease, small flex industrial. So you can essentially move somebody from one property to another, And you can get creative on how you buy or get into the other property, and you can essentially just swap deeds with the seller, increase their benefits and increase your benefits. Maybe you want value add. A lot of people that want value add. You can get into a 4-unit that has some deferred maintenance, but if you bought it at 300,000, it's worth 450 once you fix it up, and it's going to cost 25,000 to fix it up. But you can, get the seller into another property, you get into the 4-unit, fix it up, and then you can sell it or trade for something else. Maybe you want to go into another value add property, and so you can just sort of keep this cycle going of trying to solve sellers' problems and growing your equity. Or your benefits in real estate. And I'm going to go back to the other top of this page. So I'm sorry, give me a second here. This is going to go through the benefits of a property. So a couple might be, it's positive cash flow, has a strong cap rate, fantastic location, assumable financing, credit tenants in place. Maybe you could owner finance it. Maybe it's a below market price, below market rents. There's value add or upside. And the list really just goes on and on. But I bring that up to say that when you're having those conversations, try to find people that have a problem and bring them a solution. Help increase their benefits and solve their problems, and that will help you get into more deals. And you can put transactions together without having zero money involved, and you can get equity or potentially the whole deal if you structure it right.
Yeah, the structure is the most important part. I saw Greg Pinero this last weekend, and his big thing is that real estate is the clothing that finance wears.
That's good. I like that. Mark, can you put that in the chat for everybody? I think that needs to go on the screen.
All right. What was that? Real estate is the clothing that finance wears?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Are any of you familiar with Jack Miller at all?
No.
Y'all need to listen to, so there's a website. It's called Cash Flow Depot. I'm going to put in the private chat because Mark, I don't think I can put in the regular one. But again, cashflowdepot.com. And that website, it's like $200-300 for a lifetime membership, but they have so many recorded videos of Jack Miller. I think he's from Tampa, actually. Him and Pete Fortunato, but those are two of the smartest people in real estate. I mean, they can put any transaction together. They can overcome pretty much any objection. They wrote a lot of books on creative finance in I think the 80s and 90s, but really smart people. But you should check out Cash Flow Depot if you haven't. They'll walk you through everything from like options on properties, which is a whole nother thing, how to invest in debt. If you wanted to, you could go buy, instead of buying somebody's house, you could, sorry, I think my connection just dropped. You can end up buying somebody's mortgage. So instead of their property, you can go to the bank that owns the debt on it and buy their mortgage for pennies on the dollar. And you can then go foreclose on the current owner. That's a strategy I heard from somebody last week. All these different things to get a hold of property and title and controlling interest.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for sharing that resource. And also love the cheat sheet that you just showed earlier as well, of the breakdowns of how it could be beneficial, the deal, different ways to structure it. And a big question I get, Hunter, which I would love to hear your opinion on, is why would anyone ever want to do a seller finance deal or a substitute deal from the seller perspective, right? Is it really truly beneficial on both ends? What is the opportunity that they get?
Yeah, again, I'm probably not the most qualified person to answer this, but I'll take a stab at it. I would say that 90% of the time, those sort of deals make sense. I have run into some myself where the deal really simply does not make sense. It doesn't make sense for them to seller finance it, whether they have a low tax basis or a high tax basis. I've sort of seen it on both sides. Normally, it's going to be a benefit. They're going to want to do it because they can save on taxes, they can increase their returns. You know, if they bought a property at 100,000 and it's now worth $1 million, well, what if they seller finance the $1 million at 3%? Well, you got to look at that internal rate of return for them compared to what their basis is and what they were originally getting. They could be making a huge spread on their property. Another thing I learned from Pace this week, he talked through that in a podcast video, but it really just depends on the situation. But 9 times out of 10, it will make sense to the seller. It's all about how you pitch it, and it's all about how you communicate the benefits and obligations to owning real estate, because everybody's got them. Some are better than others, and some work for others in certain situations.
Excellent.
I forgot, Ariel, is on the free trial, is the seller finance or a creative finance portion available for coffee closers?
Not as of right now. We just have a free market, which is our Greenville, South Carolina market, which it's a little bit tricky. Like we do have a little blurb that says try Creative Finance to, check it out for free. But that's currently the way someone could explore it for now.
Okay. Yeah. So check out the link in the chat. And also, for those of you just tuning in, Ariel's book on Amazon is going to be released soon, even though it's the blue cover, not the white one, which I chose. But anyways, yeah, go check it out. Some cool stuff. So what's in the works for coffee? Actually, I do want to, how did you come up with that name? Where did that name Coffee Closers come from?
Yeah, it's a big question I always get. So it's a movie, Glen Ross, from I think it's about the early 90s or so. So a bunch of stars in it: Alec Baldwin, Al Pacino, a couple other folks, I think Kevin Spacey. But basically, the premise is real estate. So there's a struggling real estate sales company, and they have a big shot from New York come in, and he's like, "I'm going to teach you basically the ways to be able to sell." Then as someone's like getting coffee, as he's talking, he's like, put that coffee down. Coffee is only for closers. So that's like a gift that still goes around as well. And you might have seen the gift, but that's why we have the name Coffee Closers, because we're trying to take you not just from research, but ultimately to closing a deal.
I like that.
Now, it is really a fantastic resource, Ariel. I'm very impressed with what you guys have been able to put together. If you have not taken a look already, please check out Coffee Closers. It really takes a lot of the guesswork out of what most investors need to do to get their first 1, 2, or 3 deals in the creative space. And if you can take the guesswork out of it, you can build the foundation, you can learn markets, you will absolutely crush it with these sellers. So go ahead and check it out if you have not already.
Hyder says a great movie. Glen Ross is a great movie, classic. Let me ask you another question, Ariel. So do you like real estate or do you like the tech side? So that's how they kind of intertwine. Like, do you like forming the software side and everything, and that's how you got into real estate? Or do you actually like real estate and you just wanted to create something that made it easier for you to find deals?
Yeah, so my background is tech. So working as a data scientist for other companies, mostly in the financial space and with trading fraud. So that's kind of like my background, where I was like, there's so many softwares out there, like Robinhood, Charles Schwab, everything to help you trade just like normally. And you're not gathering all the information of like who the CEO is, what does their rates look like historically. Like it's already present there. You just have to make a decision, like buy Apple, don't buy the Apple stock. So why isn't there something similar to real estate? So that's kind of how like my mindset went from tech first, real estate. But in terms of passion, I'd say they're probably equal, 50-50. Really love both, but the tech side right now is dominating. So that's why I'm not like actively pursuing deals, as it would take up my time from helping the community.
Awesome.
I do have a little quick preview of something if you guys want to see.
Of course.
And I think, Hunter, you might like this since you've been referencing Pace Morby a couple times. So in our community that we have for helping to close deals, one of the things that we did point towards was like Pace Morby's and Jerry Norton's course that they have for free on YouTube. Just goes through a series of videos. But the biggest, then complaint was, Ariel, I don't have 7 hours of time to watch videos. So I basically created a GPT, which I'll be showing a little bit more next week in a webinar that I'm having. But it basically has watched all these videos across many different channels from many different experts. And you can go from learning about creative finance to role-playing scenarios and also understanding the financials too. So if I just click like this, teach me about seller financing, it'll start to give me like an overview based on all this knowledge that's been trained on seller financing, which you could technically do with like Chat GPT, I think, because I had this up for a while. Let me actually refresh. You could technically do in the free versions, but like these, what you call like smaller trained GPTs do better when you have like select like knowledge to train it with. And yeah, surprise this. Oh, I think because I have it from not my main account. But let me actually see if I can start it up again. And I'll just go right into like role playing. So like Hunter, you kind of mentioned this, that Say Like Pace has so many videos on how to role play different scenarios. So we've like ingested all of that information and more to be able to give you scenarios. Yeah, I think this is not working because I'm on my coffee closers email instead of my tech and real estate email. But we'll have that properly prepared for the webinar coming up next week. And you'll be able to see, like, you can walk through with a GPT, like how to gain your knowledge, how to go through different scenarios. And even if you want to take it to the next level, you can go on voice and you can do the voice action of GPT so that it really does sound like you're talking to a seller and you're responding back as a buyer and you get feedback in real time.
That's amazing. That's a huge value add to be able to bring up objections to an offer. Say, hey, I'm offering, list price at seller financing, and the seller says, no, I just want the cash. It's like, okay, well, how do you respond to that? But if you have the technology to do that, then it really just is simply training yourself in the sales role for creative financing to be able to respond to those rebuttals and those objections. So I love that feature, Ariel.
That's awesome. When is that?
Yeah, Tuesday, next Tuesday, I have a like bigger webinar. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be going over this and other GPTs, like other scenarios that you can basically help streamline your business as a real estate investor by utilizing mostly free tools that are available and help you get the leg up in creative finance. I even trained as a little extra. I even trained like a mini me where I've literally downloaded like practically every video I've been on or have done. And now like I can just answer emails in my own tone and within like 5 seconds. It's pretty wild. So there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with GPTs.
Yeah. Well, I want to say, Daryl, thanks for stopping by. He has so many different names, but he's on F.I.R.E right now, but he's usually Janitor on Fire. So go check out his YouTube channel. Also, he's doing some cool stuff on post offices and things. So go check him out. Go give him a subscribe. But he also mentioned he posted something on Facebook talking about an article he saw about. So we're talking about creative finance. We're talking about maybe people that have low mortgage rates or properties that are paid off. So seller finance, creative finance deals. But I guess this article is maybe a little bit different approach to kind of getting into a property, but it's about friends going into deals together to buy a home, like live together. So I posted that article in there. But what's you guys' thoughts on that? Could you guys buy a property with a friend to get on the property ladder, but now you're living together for a while?
No, no. I have some friends that they did that with like a duplex, and it seems to be working for them now. I'm happy for them, but for me personally, I don't think that'd be for me. Now, if they want to be my roommate and pay like less rent than they normally would, then okay. But for us to both be on title or whatever, no, thank you.
Yeah, for me, it's been a really simple phrase that I've remembered over the years. The only ships that sink are partnerships, and I mean, I found that to be true. I've had a number of partnerships in business over the years, a couple in real estate, a couple not in real estate, and all of them except one have ended, and the only one that's not is with a family member. And so that, thankfully that one's going great. But normally speaking, I think it's hard to go into business with other people. Um, so I don't know. I couldn't do it, but more power to the people that do.
Yeah, I'd agree on both ends. Where it could work is if you really like have that relationship where you can tell the other individual, like, I don't like the way you did these exact steps, like improve on it going forward. A lot of people that would burn bridges as a friend, they can't handle that type of like business feedback. So if you do have that availability with someone who's a family member or a friend where you can talk to them very point blank and you're okay for friendship, having to walk away if things didn't turn out right, then maybe go for it. Otherwise, yeah, I'd have a little bit of hesitation.
Yeah, we'll get Hyder on one day because he's in a partnership with some other ORAT members, Millennial Mike, doing something in Gary, Indiana. So maybe we'll get him on, talk about that, see the struggle or pros and cons of what they're doing. But it helped him get on the rental property ladder. So that was one way for him to open the door. So for him, I think it's working out. So he put a lot of sweat equity into it. That was part of his, he would do a lot of work and renovation on the property. So that's also how he was able to get involved in that deal. But yeah, I mean, what else you guys want to dig into anything else down the creative finance? We talked about interest rates. PE, Curtis, what is your thoughts? Interest rates cuts tomorrow, maybe, or today actually?
We'll see. I'm hopeful. I would love to refinance the recent purchase that I did and get out of the sixes, but that's just me being a little selfish. But if the rates don't drop, well, then I could see that being helpful for the creative space. And so with either way, I think it's a win.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. It's gonna, I think, pretty soon. I don't know. I'm trying to follow my ex while we're doing this, but I haven't seen anything yet on it. But yeah, I love what everyone's doing. So I don't know if Hunter and Ariel, you guys know Curtis's story though, but his first property he house hacked it. He basically boarded up a room for himself and he had no shower in there. He had a toilet and he would shower at the gym and shower at the mom's house, and that's how he did it. He sacrificed for a year and now he's on his second house hack and he's living it up now with a shower.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Love to see that you had like delayed gratification and you had a end goal in mind.
Oh yeah, and then I'm about to do something again. I'm about to get a roommate. I think so. We'll see how long that one lasts and see if I actually like it or not.
Yeah, I love
That's
it.
awesome. Yeah, putting in the work now. There's a Dave Ramsey. I'm not a huge Dave Ramsey fan, but I do like a couple of his one-liners. He says, "Live like no one else now, so that you can live like no one else later." Essentially delayed gratification. I love that you're putting in the work. It's not fun. It's not easy. But you're doing the hard stuff now, so you don't have to do the hard stuff later.
Yeah.
Love that.
I actually had a question for an Hunter and Ariel. So when thinking of our brains, right? So the left side is very like logical, and with both of you knowing how to structure deals and tech space and knowing how to really build deals, how have you built the right side of your brain of actually being able to communicate and sell the owners on this to get them to a yes? Like, who have you watched? What books have you read?
Yeah, Hunter, I'll let you go first.
There's two books that come to mind, more on the creative finance side. One of them is called Invest in Debt, and I don't even know who it's by. I'm going to look it up real quick. It's a red book. I remember that. It's sitting on my shelf somewhere. Jimmy Napier. It's a book on basically buying paper, buying mortgages, creating and doing that. So that's a good one to read. And then the other one, I've got to look it up. It's something like My Path to 1,000 Houses or something. Um, so My Life in 1,000 Houses, that's what it is. The Art of Owner Financing. Mitch Stephen, that's who it is. I was gonna say I've got both of them sitting on my bookshelf at home. those are two that I would really dive in and read. That and learn how to use a financial calculator if you don't already. It's not free, but there's an app on your phone that's like $5, and there might even be a free one somewhere. But those are a couple books I would recommend to get you started.
What's the app?
Great question. Let me look. It is called 10BII. I don't know if you can even see it. It's the 10BII.
Oh, okay. 10B.
10BII. It's like a Texas Instruments digital financial calculator. But that's a good one. Like I use that one multiple times a day. That helps you, figure out, debt and mortgages and ways to structure, payments and getting the seller what they want. Like if they say, hey, I want to go get $80,000 for my house and I want $1,000 a month. Okay, how do you back into that to make it a zero interest loan that's principal only? You just go in there, put 80,000 in the price, 800 for the payments, 0 for the interest, and then hit compute for the number of payments, and it'll spit out how many payments you need to pay. 800,000 bucks, and you'll have it paid off, 0% interest. And all you're doing is simply giving the seller what they want. They said, hey, I want my purchase price and I want X dollars a month. Now, then you have to figure out, does it make sense to pay, $800,000 a month on this deal?
Yeah, I think those are great suggestions. Also, Wealth Without Cash, Pace Morby. That's a book, really good. And then also just like partnering with someone, right? Someone who's done this before. So if you are new to the space, maybe you are bringing another like area in real estate that you're experienced in, or maybe it's that you have time on your side. And if you could partner with someone, it could even be locally, right? Like if you just go to, like for me, if I went to Tampa Sub 2 or I went to Tampa Investors, I could probably find an event that's happening next week or two, show up in person, meet maybe 10 folks and say, hey, like I'm trying to learn more about creative. Can I pick your brain like a little bit more over coffee? Or, maybe we set up some sort of Zoom call where I can help you with what you're trying to learn and then I could learn in turn too. Just because like as we were developing the creative side for coffee closers, it would have taken so long if every single time I was researching like what is the down payment amount that sellers usually go after? What's the scenario in this location or that location? But just having like Noah, who is one of our partners for Coffee Closers, he has a lot of experience in creative and closing a lot of these deals. So I was able to just within seconds, send him a text, get an answer, and it really helps with the learning process.
Yeah, great question.
Thank you.
So I just put the books that Hunter mentioned in the comments, so go check it out if you guys want to check those books out. But yeah, maybe we can wrap things up soon. I mean, anything else you guys want to talk about? I mean, if you guys have time, I've been kind of asking everyone on all my lives this week, kind of fourth quarter goals, or maybe how things are going for them this year. Have they accomplished maybe what they set out for in the beginning of the year, and how they're gonna finish up?
Yeah, I could take it first. So this year, a big part was to really drive community, as well as to try to figure out where are a lot of newbies getting like stuck in real estate. So, I mean, I'm usually on calls with at least like 3 to 5 new people a week. So just, trying to listen first rather than just like ask questions or solution. Was a lot of like my first half of the year, then trying to like throw out, potential little dashboards or frameworks, second half of the year. And now like this latter half is being able to release this book, release more information on like how you can really go from zero to your first investment property all laid out. And I'm really excited to like have it come to fruition. Yeah, and that was my main goal for this year, just making it easier for the newbie to get started.
Nice. So my goal was to get to house hack number 2, so I did that, and then for the fourth quarter, the goal is more of a process goal of contacting more owners.
That's awesome. You both are crushing it and doing great on your goals. Much more impressive than mine. So I bought, my last property that I bought was in December of last year, another out-of-state purchase, and it's been a real labor of love to get that property stabilized, leased up. We had an eviction, somebody left, so it's been a little bit of a headache. So part of my goal this year has really just been to stabilize my portfolio before I go look to acquire anything else. So we're now just maybe another 2 weeks. Everything should be stabilized. It's taken way longer than it should have, but after that, it'll be jumping back on more seriously about taking down the next deal.
Yeah, for me, it's taking me 9 months, but I'm finally pulling the trigger, gonna rent my house out and finally cleaning it out and realizing how much shit I have and just how much money I wasted. But yeah, it's taking a lot of time, but it's not even ready to rent, but people are already wanting to see it. I told them it's a mess and there's cat hair everywhere, and they're like, "Oh, I want to see it. I want to get in." Or I mean, so I'm like, "You guys can look, but telling you now." And they're like, "We'll clean it for you." I'm like, "Okay, whatever's." But yeah, so pretty much getting all my gym equipment out of here though has been and trying to figure out where to put it at my parents' house. But it'll just make things a lot easier. It's just I'm hardly at home. Hey Kobe, what's up, man? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, don't talk about fantasy football right now. But yeah, if I pretty much should be out in about 2 weeks or so. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing I've finally pulled the trigger on, and Kobe's gonna give me shit because I told him to. I'm probably gonna go into EXP, but I haven't done it yet, and I haven't filled out any papers. But that's in the plans too. So hopefully I'll get that done by the end of this year. Okay, I'll put that in. But yeah, I mean, it's been like you said. Even I think like Hunter deals kind of on the back burner right now. Just trying to focus on other things, trying to build the brand, picking up some traction on the social media side. So that's been fun, and just trying like Ariel, just communicating, talking to different people, trying to help other people grow their brands also. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Great to hear it.
And I think October 10th, I'll be on Ariel's channel. We're gonna do I guess, buy box deep dive or discuss some things on that. So that should be fun. Hold on, I'm trying to put. Daryl is recommending a channel to go subscribe to, so I was just trying to put it on there. The F.I.R.E team, Curtis on the link. So go give them some support. 1,000 subscriber. Well, help me out, Daryl. I'm only at 6 something right now, so help me out and maybe we'll figure something out. We'll do one in Chicago. We'll go to a Bears game. How's that?
No one's showing up for that, man.
Dude, your family played for the Bears. Why are you not more supportive?
Yeah, and then they left.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Yeah. I don't know. Anything else you guys want to touch on? Anything else you guys want to need help with? Or I know I'll put Ariel her book, Amazon. Go check it out. Go check out Coffee Closers. Try the free trial. See, Kobe's a Bears fan. He knows what's up.
I thought I liked Kobe.
Oh, actually, yeah, go check. I'll try find it real quick. Go check out Kobe on Ariel's YouTube channel. Also, they did a interview chat discussion together, so go check that out. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, so Hunter, waiting for your more social media presence so we can promote you also. And if you guys haven't heard, Harrison is going to be releasing his first YouTube video on Friday on his YouTube channel. So Trade Better 99 is going to come out with his first video. So go check that out when he puts it out there. But yeah.
Well, this was great, Ariel. I really do appreciate you jumping on and sharing. I know I learned a ton about your tool, and I'm definitely going to be looking into it and utilizing it because that's half of what I do. Basically, when I'm trying to increase my deal flows, I'm making seller financing deals on market multifamily listings. So it's perfect for what I need, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people that would be a huge benefit to them.
Thanks, Hunter. Yeah, really appreciate you sharing those cheat sheets, resources as well. And looking forward for everyone here to see your goals continue for Q4.
Joe, I'm going to kick you out of this chat. So you're going to talk about the Bears, you said. So much haters in here, but let's wrap it up on a positive note. Ariel just came back from her trip. So where'd you go, and how exciting was that? What'd you do over there?
Yeah, I went to Colombia, in 3 different cities. So Bogota, Cartagena, and Medellin. Did a little bit of, or a lot of, good eats. Did some hiking. Even took screenshots of some new developments. Might be, calling them up later. So there were some that are like 60,000 for a 1 unit, which is like for 1 unit that would be an Airbnb. But aside from that, had an amazing trip, got to relax, and yeah, but probably look into maybe doing some remote working out there for a longer period of time.
Nice. Did you actually get to relax though? I mean, did you?
Yeah. I time blocked. So most of my day was vacation, but as someone who's entrepreneur, as I think all of us are or seek to be, it's always exciting. Like you get ideas in your head just as you're like doing regular tasks, and you're like, all right, let me just pencil out just 15 minutes just to look into this. So there's a little bit of that, but yeah, overall relaxing.
Nice. Hey, Hugo, Stay Winning Pod. Go give him some support. Go check out his channel. He's doing some cool stuff out there. So I got to collaborate with him. So it looks like Hugo just looks like Restream is working. Yesterday we had issues. It kept bouncing us off. So it's working a lot. But I tested it late at night last night. So you're all probably sleeping. But I want to make sure it was working for this morning. So I deleted that already. But I tested it out last night. But yeah, thanks for doing this, everyone. This is always fun. So like I said, everyone go check out Coffee Closers, Ariel's new book, the blue cover one. Or check out Curtis's channel and Hunter's channel. But yeah, this is fun. We'll do this again. And thanks for everyone stopping by.
Thanks, everyone.